What's up, anime lovers? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk, and today I'm chatting with a voice actor who has voiced both humans and creatures alike, and who's best known for multiple roles in the Digimon universe. Vexen from Kingdom Hearts, Uru Ishida from Bleach, Aburame from Naruto, Rurouni Kenshin, Battle Man, Match and Awakens Romance, and many more. Mr. Derek Stephen Prince. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing good, Simon. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Bit of a cold day in the land down under. But on to the first question. How did you get started in acting?
Acting or voiceover?
In general, basically.
In general. Okay, so acting.
Hmm.
I actually started when I was a kid, around the age of 10. My parents both came from entertainment backgrounds, and my mom in particular wanted me to, you know, see if I liked acting, so I was put into this elementary school that was for gifted individuals in the language arts area, and also hooked me up with an agent, and I did a commercial or two. I was an extra in a TV series, um, and then from there continued just learning about acting through theater. Um, Wrote my first play when I was 11. Let's see. And yeah, just continued learning as much as I could about the craft of acting all the way through college, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in musical theater from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Stayed in New York for a couple of years after I graduated. Did the whole touring theater thing. Decided it was not for me. I did not like living out of a suitcase, and so I traveled back to my home state of California, where I got an agent, was able to participate in a couple of TV shows as well as commercials. When things started dying down a little bit in the on-camera world, I kept on trying to keep my my art alive by learning as much as I could. So I took some classes from the SAG Conservatory Guild in Los Angeles, and SAG is short for Screen Actors Guild. And then um, ran into a great individual, Bob Bergen, who currently does the voice of Porky Pig and Tweety Bird on the Warner Brothers cartoons, the new ones. He took over from Mel Blanc, and learned voiceover technique from him. And he was my first coach and my first mentor and my first teacher. I took a bunch of classes after him, probably for about a year period, maybe a year and a half. And then I started getting into the first anime that I was ever introduced to was a show that Bob actually worked on at the time called Eagle Riders. Was able to make a connection with the director there because I try and be as personable as possible. I created a good relationship with him. That led to my first regular voiceover role as Auric the Conqueror on Power Rangers. I think it was Power Rangers Zeo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then continued working on in Power Rangers for about maybe 3 more seasons, 3.5. Went and did Big Bad Beetleborgs, which was also for Saban Entertainment. Because of my connections at Saban Entertainment, that led me to an audition for Digimon,
Hmm.
and have been in pretty much every single season of Digimon except for season 5.
Right.
And other roles appeared as a result of me spending, 7 years on that show. Other directors found that I was a good actor that listened to direction and did what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it, um, and so that kind of just led to a whole bunch of other stuff that is now part of my, I guess, my resume, so to speak.
That's fantastic. And as you mentioned before, with your being in the Power Rangers universe, what was it like playing in the Power Rangers series?
It it was it was obviously definitely different from anime because in the Power Rangers series, even though we're still doing voiceovers, we're matching lip flap for lip flap for the actor or the character that is actually speaking. So it's a little bit more challenging to be able to make sure that we're talking exactly the same time that original performer was filmed. Um, Usually, still only had, I didn't work with too many other actors while I was doing what I was doing, unless it was a type of a scene where maybe two villains were fighting side by side. I think I remember one opportunity when I forget what her character was. Wendy Lee played this character. I think her name was Jatara or something like that.
Mm.
And there was a scene with Jatara and Elgar, and so we just to play off of each other. They had us both in the same sound booth, so that we could, kind of work off of each other and fight or whatever it was. That may not have been the right character. I'm not sure, but it was not that much different from just going into a regular studio, for anime and just recording it. It's just a little bit more challenging because of having to get the lip flaps down, and it was in English, so you have to be really precise because it's not like you're trying to match pseudo lip flaps if it's a foreign film like from Korea or from Japan or from China or wherever, where a lot of the product comes from. So yeah, it was, but it was a great experience. Loved it.
That's fantastic. That's really good. And as you mentioned before with Digimon, that was basically your first voiceover role in the your introduction to anime generally. Is that right?
I don't know if that was my very first one. I can't remember honestly because Saban used me a lot after I started working in Power Rangers, another show that I recorded, but I'm not sure if it came before or after Digimon,
Right.
was
Okay.
Super Pig, or at least that's what it was called in English. I don't remember what it was called in Japanese, but if you look it up on IMDb, you're not going to find Super Pig. You're just going to find it by the Japanese name, but you'll find it under my name because it's listed as one of the credits. And I think Prince Iggy was the character that I played, who was like this pig from outer space. Crazy. But so that may have come before or after. I can't remember which. And
Right.
then, but I mean, it was fairly early on in my anime career as far as doing specifically anime stuff.
Right. And as before with the Digimon universe, what was it like playing a whole range of characters across? As you said before, you worked across a majority of the series. In fact, what was it like playing in the Digimon universe?
Uh, well, I actually just got back from a convention where we had a panel based on Digimon, like everything Digimon, and there were a bunch of fans that watched the show or still watch the show. It is currently available on Netflix. I think every single season except for maybe the last two, Digimon Fusion. I'm not sure if it is or not, but it was definitely a very fun experience. Getting to play a number of different characters in season one. Just to kind of give the brief rundown for anybody that's listening. In season one, I played Veemon, who's like this little bat creature, and Digitamamon, who is a walking egg creature, and Piedmon, who's one of the Dark Masters. And then in season two, I think Digitamamon came back for a couple of episodes, but primarily what most fans know me for from that series are the Digimon Emperor / Ken Ichijoji, and then Veemon and all the different forms of Veemon except for Flame Dramon, which was voiced by Steve Bloom. Um, and then for season 3, I was Impmon Beelzemon. Season 4, I was Grumblemon. Not in season 5, and then season 6/7, which was the two arc series of Digimon Fusion, I played Jeremy, as well as Zaildramon, but that was only in season 7. It was awesome being able to voice a number of different characters, and because I had already developed a good reputation with the director, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn took over in season 2. And anytime there was an opportunity to bring a character that she knew was going to be in a certain number of episodes, she'd always call me in. And it was great because I never had to audition. I did have to audition for the characters that I played in season 1 as well as in season 2. But then for all the seasons after that, I was pretty much just say, hey, do you want to do this role? And I, go, yeah, of course. Like, who wouldn't? So, yeah, it was cool.
That's fantastic. And with all the characters that you've mentioned about before across the whole Digimon series, did you have to record your lines separately, or did you also get the chance to record your characters' lines at the same time when they were on screen together?
The only opportunity I remember being able to do that was in season 2. There were certain scenes where the Digimon Emperor was speaking to the kids. Veemon was a part of that group. And there were a couple of scenes where the Digimon Emperor and Veemon would be talking back and forth with each other, and I requested to, as long as I had a space in between when I was speaking as one character and then the other character was speaking, because if you talk on top of each other, that won't work as far as editing purposes goes. But I left enough space because I felt, just like I always prefer as an actor if somebody's in the booth with me because I can play off of them. It worked better for me, actually, crazy as it sounds, playing off of myself as the two different characters because I had something to go off of.
Yeah, I can definitely just picture that right now. Like, I'm just kind of imagining, like, if we had if we had like a cloning machine in
Yeah.
this day and age now, like you'd be literally playing off yourself right now. I can just imagine that.
Yeah.
That's
It was fun for sure.
that's pretty crazy. That's fantastic. And what has been your favorite Digimon series to work on?
That would have to be season 2. I think a lot of fans would probably agree, only because not that there's anything wrong with the other seasons, but out of all the seasons that were in the Digimon universe, season 2 I felt was the most developed character-wise. Getting to know who the characters are, even though there were some that kind of trickled over from season 1 as older kids. Most of the Digimon characters, were new, with the exception of a couple of them, and the arc, especially for the Digimon Emperor, and seeing where he comes from and where he goes to, and the challenges that he has to go through, which was extremely rewarding as an actor because it's very, very few and far between times where you have a story development where every single episode it's like you're peeling off layers of an onion, and every single episode you're getting to know that character a little bit better. But if you miss an episode, it's almost like you missed a huge part of the story because there's little hints here and there that kind of help you go along with the show. And by watching all of them, it just makes a whole bunch more sense by the time that I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but by the time that he kind of has a change of heart, so to speak, and decides to work differently than what he did in the first part of the season. And it was, I mean, have you watched the show, Simon, yourself?
I've watched a few episodes, in fact, a couple of episodes from each series before,
Yeah.
from the first season, from the second season, from Digimon Tamers, and I think even Digimon Fusion, I think it was called,
Okay.
and also from the Digimon movie as well. That became, which was actually a birthday present of mine, that became like my introduction to
Oh, wow.
the Digimon universe, which
Yeah.
was the first Digimon movie, which was set at the time of the first series, and another
Right.
story set in the second series as well. So
Correct.
that really became my introduction to Digimon, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. 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 So I'd have to hands down just say season two.
That's fantastic. That's great. A few series that I also remembered you from were Love Hina, Battle Beta
Wow.
Man,
Yeah.
and Mansion Awakens Romance. What was it like doing those shows?
Oh my gosh, you actually saw Martian Romance?
Yes.
Wow. Um, you're gonna have to remind me on that one because it's been a really long time since I did that. Do you remember the character that I played in Martian Romance?
You played the Phantom, one of the chess pieces from the
Right,
series, one of the main
right. Oh my
villains.
gosh, how did you even get a hold of that?
I've rewatched a few of the episodes over the years and such. It was actually a really good favorite of mine, and still
Is it?
is. It's such a crazy series.
Yeah, is it available online anywhere
Yeah, it is. It's still available online and such
like where on YouTube?
on YouTube and also through like cartoon websites as well, like Kiss Anime, Watch Cartoons Online, those sort of places, really.
Okay,
And for all
very
those
cool.
people out there on YouTube that will listen to this, you'll find links to this. You'll find out all the episodes in those links. Of course, Watch
Okay,
Cartoon Online and Kiss Anime. But
very cool.
what was it like doing those shows? Of course, starting with Love Hina.
Love Hina was a really fun show to do because of not only the number of seasons that it had, but the movies that went along with them. And even though I wasn't the only male character in the whole show, because it really centered around Keitaro and the girls that were all living in the house, it was. I mean, every every single week was that I got to go in and record was just fun because of how goofy he was. I mean, he's this accident-prone kid that is, thrown into this house with all these girls that are around him, and all of the the things that happen to him as a result of being a boy in a girl's house, and just kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time sometimes, and just the goofiness that ensued off of that. It was a great show to work on. Wendy Lee was the director on that, and yeah, it was a blast working on that.
Mm.
Marshawn was, from what I remember about it, I mean, it was great playing this evilish character, which is really what I'm getting hired for now than I was previously. But it was a great experience as well. I got to work with a different production company, which is PCB Productions. They're really responsible for a lot of the games that were developed in the late 90s, early 2000s. PCB is responsible for the Tony Hawk Skater series and for, let me see, what else do they do? They do a whole bunch of stuff. If you just look them up online, P as in Peter, C as in Charlie, B as in Boy Productions, you can see a whole list of the stuff that they done. And they're great. They're a great production company to work with, the way that they treat the actors. And I got to work with one of the two main people there, and yeah, that was a great experience as well.
Fantastic. And also with Battle Beater Man as well. What was it like doing that show?
Battle Beat 'em on.
Yep.
Battle Beat 'em on. That was, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the character I played on that was Lynn.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be honest. I don't remember it very well.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I actually always kind of thought of that show as being like as kind of like a version of Beyblade in some way, set in a western in the western times or something. I,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
such a great series as well, and I especially love the concept behind it as well. But another series that I also remembered you from was Rurouni Kenshin. What was it like doing that series?
Okay, now here's a little bit of fun info for those who are fans of Rurouni Kenshin. As you may or may not remember, there are actually two different versions of that same show. One was called Rurouni Kenshin. The other one was called Samurai X. Samurai X came out before Rurouni Kenshin, recorded by two different production companies, but the same distributor from Japan. And the reason why that happened is because in the first series, which was Samurai X, the director who was responsible for that went much more of a comedic tone, more of a less serious quality. And when the second production company took over and renamed it Rurouni Kenshin, they took a much more somber tone with a lot of the characters much more dramatic. And so you've got two very different feel type of shows that are basically the same show, depending on which version you watch. In Samurai X, I actually played Sanosuke.
Right. Yes. Yes. I actually saw a few of the episodes, which was the version that you did when you played Sonosuke Sagara, and there was the Rurouni Kenshin version, which was played by Lex Lang.
Correct.
Yes, I remember seeing a couple of the episodes from the Samurai X version, and then comparing it to the Rurouni Kenshin version. What was it like? Which version did you prefer working on as an actor?
Well,
Having done both series.
the first one, of course. I mean, Sanosuke was a great character to portray. Two very different lives. It's a matter of which version you prefer watching overall, as far as whether you would like to be entertained more and kind of laugh, or if you're wanting to watch something more serious, which would be, Rurouni Kenshin. Yeah, I had a great time working on both. Rurouni Kenshin, I can't remember the character I played. All I can remember is Carrot Head, which was his kind of nickname. But, yeah, I mean, I liked both. But I obviously, as far as the actor goes, prefer the first version just because Sanosuke was a great, character to be able to voice.
That's fantastic. And other characters you're also best known for is I might be mispronouncing their names incorrectly. I'm sorry if I am. Uryu Ishida in Bleach and Shino
Uryu Ishida.
Uryu Ishida in Bleach and Shino Aburame in Naruto. How did you get the roles, and what was it like doing those shows?
Well, if you ever go back, because I was actually thinking this as I was talking to you, but the original voice that I did for Sanosuke from Samurai X is very, very similar to Uryu from Bleach. Very dark, kind of laid back, but there's still some humor to the character. Obviously, Bleach was a much more serious show, and being able to portray Uryu, where he doesn't really appear until I think episode 13 or 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's not in every single episode, but what he brings to the table obviously helps with the development of the storyline. And it would have been interesting if Japan still continued the series to see where Uryu would have, continued if we're going off of the manga, because it kind of left it a little up in the air as far as what happens to him in the end. But, I mean, it was great being able to play, kind of like an anti-hero hero, especially in the beginning when you weren't really sure, whose side he was on. As far as... so that was Bleach. What was the other one that you were mentioning?
Naruto.
So, Naruto happened because when they were close to the beginning of the series and they were doing the trials, all of the the students were doing their first trial. There was an episode where you first see Shino, and he's fighting against this other kid from another, from another team.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, when that episode was recorded, did not originally play Shino. It was actually Sam Riegel that played Shino. And when he recorded that particular episode, he recorded both Shino as well as the other team member that Shino fights against. The problem in doing that, however, is that his voice, according to the director, wasn't distinct enough to separate between the two characters.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, you know what? Let's just leave you as the other character. We'll get somebody else to play Shino. He's probably not going to be in very many episodes anyway.
Fantastic.
And then, lo and behold, 560 some odd episodes later, where it's still recording, at least to my knowledge it is, they're just taking longer breaks to be able to record all the episodes. Shino's still in it, and he's a badass. I mean, he's not in every episode like Uryu, but when he appears, he's like this mysterious figure, and kind of like you feel sorry for him, especially in the later years, because everybody kind of leaves him out of going on the different tasks that need to be done. But in a lot of the work that I do, I try and bring a little bit of another actor to that role, such as this particular series where I did Shino. I can do a dead-on impersonation of Christian Slater, if you know who Christian Slater is.
Mm.
And I didn't do it entirely 100% like Christian Slater, but if you go back and you ever listen to any of the episodes of Naruto, you'll notice that there's a very distinct resemblance like Christian Slater that Shino has in his voice.
That's fantastic. I'll be sure to check it out. That's absolutely amazing. And another role that you're also best known for is in the role of Vexen in Kingdom Hearts. What was it like playing that character and in the Kingdom Hearts series?
Oh my gosh, that was just an awesome opportunity. The closest that I've had, other than being in Lilo and Stitch, to doing a video game that is, from a huge production company like Disney. And I had to audition for Vexen. The way that I recall it being told to me by one of the producers is that they had a national audition for that particular character. It wasn't just actors that were in Los Angeles that were auditioning for it. It was actors in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, I think even Toronto. There were a huge amount of actors that auditioned for that one role. At that particular point in time in my career, I kind of downsized what I was doing from a regular recording studio because I just didn't have the same kind of money that some of my fellow actors have. But what I did have was a preamp plugged into a microphone, plugged into my laptop. And that was kind of like my recording studio. And whenever I needed to record an audition, I would go inside of my car and do it because it is the closest thing to a sound booth that you can get because there's no reverberation, there's no echoes or anything like that, and it's in a very small space. And that's how I actually recorded my audition for Vexen.
Wow.
I had to do 2 auditions. The first one, in which I was up against everybody nationally, and then the second audition in which I think I was up against probably about 86 or 87 other actors that were also vying for the same role. And I don't know how long it took after that second audition before I got the call from my agent, but it was just it was the coolest thing, being able to be a part of that and being able to voice Vexen, who very, very similar in character, using some of the other actors that I admire, using Tim. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his last name? The guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Tim Curry?
Yep. Very much like Tim Curry.
Wow, that is fantastic. And as an actor, was there ever like a role or a character that you ever wanted to play or ever wished you played?
Yeah, there's one. I mean, I don't know that it's ever going to be developed into an actual series, and if it is, I'm not sure that I'd even get to audition for it because I'm currently kind of in a non-acting acting status. I've had to focus a lot of my attention elsewhere recently, only because I have a family, and it's hard paying for a mortgage and bills and all that stuff with just doing voiceover work, unless you're just doing it nonstop full time and you're able to focus that, which I'm not able to do. So it's become more of a part-time job for me, so to speak. But the one role that I would hope, if it ever became available that I could do would be Silver Surfer.
Oh, wow. Yes, that would be fantastic.
I love that character. I really have I feel based on his original development when he was Norrin Rad on his planet, and then his planet got destroyed, and then he worked for Gladius and all this stuff. But there's a lot that I think I could bring to that character that probably nobody else can, because some of the experiences that he had and that I had in our lives are kind of similar. So, but yeah, if I ever got the opportunity, that would just be an awesome opportunity to do.
That would be absolutely fantastic indeed. And as an actor, what would you say has been the most challenging role for you to play?
The most challenging role. I think probably one of the more challenging roles that I had to do. And the only reason why it was as challenging as it was is because I was kind of going through a weird time in my life where I was carrying a lot of personal baggage. Not too long before I started doing the series, my father had passed away, and I got this opportunity to record this show called Monster, it's a very interesting show. If you like kind of suspense, spy type whodunit things, then that's a good show to watch. I'm not sure where it's available, but once again, it's called Monster, and I played the psychologist in the show called Dr. Rudy Gillen. And I think just because of the circumstances of what was kind of going on in my life, it was challenging because as an actor, you want to try and give 100% of yourself to the show when you're recording so that you can bring as much life to the character as possible. And I know that I didn't do that.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely must have been really, really hard for you, and I can definitely imagine that as well. And Monster, I am very familiar with the series. In fact, the main villain of that story, I can't remember the villain's name exactly, but he's been kind of compared to as like the Joker of the anime universe in some way, as being like as being like a version of the Joker to the character that you played in Monster to your character's Batman, essentially.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of saw it anyway. But
Right.
Also, what would you say has been the one role that has resonated with you the most and you feel like you could relate to as a person?
I would have to go back to season 2 of Digimon, and I'd have to say Ken, slash Digimon Emperor. I've never had any brothers or sisters, so I can't, without divulging too much, I'm not going to give anything away that's going to spoil it for anybody, but obviously, part of who that character was had to deal with his brother. I'd never had that type of experience happen to me in my life, but as far as similar experiences, I could definitely bring that to the table, and the fact that he was kind of an outcast at first, and then kind of had to, make his way so that he was accepted by more people later on. I could definitely relate to that. Anyway, season 2 of Digimon, where I played Digimon Emperor, that probably resonated with me the most.
That's absolutely fantastic. And without going into any spoilers, any current or upcoming projects?
Any current or upcoming projects? Well, the one thing that I don't know if it's available in Australia, but it is available, I think, on either Amazon Prime or Netflix. There's one show that I'm currently involved with called Hunter x Hunter.
Yes. Yeah.
I play one of the teachers, or not teachers, but one of the, I guess, proctors of the game, called Lippo. And then I think it is on Netflix. I actually saw it there. There's one movie that I'm currently in called Bling, Bling, like, jewelry, bling.
Yeah.
And it's actually a very fun movie. Came from, where did it come from? I think it came from England. And then for some reason we had to redub in the U.S. It may not have been from England. I don't remember, but that's a fun show. It's a movie in which there's a lot of, not A-list actors that are in it, but they're B-list actors that are pretty recognizable. And then there's another movie, I think it's still available on Amazon Prime, called Untitled Chapter, that I did with some great actors as well. That came from Korea, and both of the movies have great animation in them. So they're fun shows if you want to check them.
That's absolutely fantastic. And final question, what do you think that Veemon would say if he saw kangaroos?
If he saw kangaroos?
Yep.
That's a fun question. You would probably say, hey, look! What's that thing hopping around and it's all brown? It almost looks like me, except it's not blue and it's a lot bigger. And it has a pocket in the front.
That's absolutely fantastic. I can definitely picture him saying that. Derek Stephen Prince, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor.
Oh, thank you, Simon. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this.
It's definitely tough when you're living in two countries across the globe. But hope to see you in Australia someday. And anyway, for the fans to know more about your work?
There's a couple places. You can always go to IMDb, I as in ice cream, M as in Mary, B as in boy, D as in David.com. That is the International Movie Database. And you can find out about all of the things that I've worked on if you're not as familiar with my work, or shows that I'm currently doing. In addition to that, probably the best way to keep apprised of stuff that I'm either currently doing or will be doing or have done is through my Facebook page, which is Derek Stephen Prince voice actor.
Right.
And if you just look up Derek Stephen Prince, you'll probably find it, and you can like the page, and that way anytime I post anything about it, you guys will be the first to know.
That's absolutely fantastic. Derek Stephen Prince, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's all right. Well, guys, if you'd like to find out more about Derek Stephen Prince's work, you can check out the links, as he mentioned before, down below in the description. And don't forget to subscribe down below to HannaTalk and Simon Hanna Music, as well as follow my links down below in the description too. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Simon, signing off.